And they're like, hey, you didn't tell us about this song. Like, this song's good. And I was like, okay, whatever, cool. You know, maybe somebody else will cut it. I don't know. I haven't listened to it. And then, so we had this guy who was helping us record some little videos or whatever, and on his phone, just videoing it. He's like, hey, play that song. I like that one. I was like, well, I don't even know how it goes. Let me just so I listened to it, try to play it. And that's kind of what came out. And sure enough, people liked it. I was like, oh.
The intersection of good drinks, good music, and good times. This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations.
We have officially closed the door on spooky season, and we're on to the holiday season. Hope everyone had a great Halloween, got plenty of candy, lots of goodies. Now we're counting down to Thanksgiving, and Christmas is not far behind. We got a great episode for you this week on the Bar Conversations, and we talk with country artist Grant Gilbert. What's Stopping Us is his latest single. It's a great song and a fun chat with him. And for tasting notes, we bring on Drunkwood creator John King. We talk with him on Hops and Spirits Kentucky. We bring you a little bit of that episode. Like I said, if you want to listen, watch the full episode, click the link in the show description and it'll take you right to it. And you know what? Let's not waste any more time because I know everyone's excited to get to it. So up next is Tasting Notes with Drunkwood creator John King. Enjoy.
Did you know Hops and Spirits is more than just this podcast? Check out hopspirits.com for our latest episode release, past episodes, interviews with interesting folks in the alcohol industry, and so much more. Just go to hopspirits.com. Feel free to wait until this podcast is done.
He's the creator, founder of Drunkwood. He's got many hobbies and I believe some talents as well. John King, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
I'm curious though, you know, clearly you can see some of what he can do behind him, I believe. I'm assuming that's one of your works behind you.
Yeah, that's when we so I live here in the Germantown area, Louisville, and we bought a house, which funny story is the day we closed on the house in 2016, I put my 2 weeks notice in right after I signed the paperwork because my mortgage guy was like, you can't quit your job until you get all this finalized. So I quit my job and took a risk of having Drunkwood be my full-time option. And there was a couple years where it's a little shaky, but it's proven itself. But yeah, basically that's when I moved in the house, it's the most flammable house in Louisville because it's just covered with all my woodwork. It's probably a 12-foot cedar outline of the United States, and we travel and do a lot of national park and hiking and backpacking stuff. So I just kind of pinpoint a lot of different photos and things along those lines.
You mentioned you started, you know, kind of doing Drunkwood in 2012. Was woodworking kind of just a stress reliever for you back then, or was it kind of something a little more, or it built into that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it was a stress reliever. It was just kind of it was a challenge. It was like, hey, let's see what I can do this. Because living in Kentucky, you know, you'd see everything bourbon state related, but only a few people, and only a couple that I'm still close with are still doing it today. It was, wouldn't say stress. It was just something to do. Like I remember in college, I'd build a set of bags and kind of got a little bit of woodworking, and I worked construction in college. So I kind of had your basic skills, but it was kind of a, hey, let's learn, let's screw it up, and then learn why we screwed up, and then try to get better. I mean, I still see things to Facebook, like some of the work from 2012 and 2013, and you're like, oh my God, like how far you've come. And then people will ask me all the time to still make some of those items, and I won't do it because I'm just like, listen, you know, there's other people that do the kind of start out products. I was like, go give them your business. They're just starting out. So.
Well, and what pushed you to go full time in 2016 with Drunkwood and you know, give it a go?
It was a combination of a few things. So I'd worked in a university for a while, and I love my boss, but she was very picky on when you could take vacation days and holiday days. And it just, I went for a job and I didn't get it. And it was me and my best friend, my work wife, we're going for the same job. And I told her, I said, I want you to get this. And if you get it over me, I said, I'm gone. And, you know, the thing is my business was building, but I knew, you know, we'll talk about it, but I was also doing work in the beer industry. So I was kind of like, if I leave U of L, I know enough people, I can get a job in beer. while I do this woodworking that's going to supplement it. So what I didn't add this part earlier, I never told my wife or my family I was quitting my job. So like my parents didn't know for like 6 months. They just stopped seeing some photos, and God rest my God rest my soul, she's still alive. My wife was so awesome about it. She was just like, sure, you do it, as long as you can, do what you got to do. And the first 2 years were, they were a struggle. Like the sales weren't where I wanted them to. And so I was applying for jobs. I mean, I applied for a ton of even different school counseling or going back into education jobs. And I wasn't hearing anything back from them. And I was just like, well, I guess this is, so I kind of figured out how social media and different outlets and different connections, how to do SEO stuff on Google. And things were going good. But once COVID hit, everything doubled. Like it was just, everyone was stuck at home, nothing to do. They did a lot of, just like me, did a lot of home projects. So people were just like, it was crazy. People were buying. And at the time, my wife was laid off. So it was one of those times of like, yes, everything's great, but everything's not so great. And a lot of my friends who were doing similar businesses that were relying on shows, or like they had their items in brick and mortars, they were hurting. So like for me, I had to keep my mouth shut because I felt bad about talking about my success. Whereas my friends and peers, were shutting down their businesses or, struggling to get by, if they had it as a full-time job. And there's a few of us that actually considered it a full-time job.
And with the name, how did you come up with the name? Was it a drunken night amongst beer, or how did that work?
I wish it was. Well, to go back to my wife being so awesome, well, she's my second wife and also my second Ashley. So I was married before, and her name was also Ashley. And at the time, while I was doing this, I had to create a Facebook page for it. And I came up with like 3 names. I was like, I can't remember the other 2. But the name Drunkwood was because when you cut the wood, you can smell the bourbon. And then when you visually look at the bourbon, the bourbon barrel stave, you can see the line of where the bourbon had went into and came out. And so of all the names, she thought Drunkwood was the stupidest name. And I was just like, that's it, Drunkwood. And, I've gotten giggles from it and other things. And I mean, it just kind of stuck, and it has been there ever since. And I think, and one thing I did too, is I did look up if there were any other companies named it. And there was a company in the UK that I think it did like driftwood sculptures. And there was like another motorcycle company. So it's totally cool. It's a totally unique name. So that's kind of where it came from.
I love it. I love it. So simple and but so fun and fitting. When you're coming up with ideas and so forth, whether it's stuff that you're going to continually have or might consider, how does that process work for you? I mean, are you sketching things out, or is someone coming to you with things, or how does that work?
Kind of both. So a lot of my items are custom orders. So I have items I make all the time because those are the most popular items. But then if someone comes to me or like has an idea, we kind of sit there over email or a phone call and hash it out. One thing is like when I started in 2012, I was looking on the internet for ideas. And because a lot of the times I only use bourbon barrel staves, but in California, a lot of people were doing things out of wine staves. So like in California was making iron deck chairs. So I took that with bourbon barrels, kind of wrote the measurements myself through trial and error, kind of created iron deck chairs. And, I do things like pub tables and coat hangers and just simple things, just trying to see making something, throwing it up against the wall to see what would stick. And over time, like I started doing Kentucky outlines and then adding Kentucky outlines with shelves to display bourbon bottles, which is, probably one of my number one pieces, and also probably one of the most ripped off pieces that I get. And that's a part of it, is like, just like me looking at other people's things for ideas, you're going to find other makers who will do the same things.
Well, and it's really cool work. And, you mentioned the Thomas Woodworking that has been on the podcast previously. I always enjoyed asking them this question: what's it like using old bourbon barrels and wine barrels? Because as they said, one would think it would be cool, but really it's kind of nasty and disgusting.
It's very dirty. I look like a coal miner half the time. Like when customers come and pick up their items, they just look at me like how they're just like, what the heck? 'Cause just covered in head to toe. And I like to wear short running shorts when I work. So it's just dirt everywhere. I mean, I'll go to coffee shops or restaurants like during lunch and people just look at me like so weird, like I'm a homeless person in there, just because it is such dirty work. I mean, it feels constantly wearing I was wearing masks for masks were cool because you're getting stuff up your nose and everything like that. It's really dirty. I mean, my shop is in my house, and like I look on Instagram and see all these woodworking influencers and how pretty and nice their shops are. And I call BS because you're not really doing work. If you're not covered in dust and dirt and work, if you're taking 2 hours a day to clean your shop, you're not really doing woodworking. It's my hot take.
Now, for those that want to find out, and whether that's submit a custom order or take a look at what you've got, is the Etsy page the best, or social media, or what's best?
So Etsy is where you can find probably 80 of my most popular items. So you can go on Etsy. If you're local to Louisville, you can use code Louisville Pickup in all caps to pick things up. One thing I highly encourage, if anyone reads or listens to this podcast, shoot me a message first about shipping, because Etsy only uses like the postal service, and I make super big pieces that I ship via FedEx. So shipping can be atrocious. But if you want to see like common pieces, go on Etsy. If you want to see like the rare one-off stuff, you can go on my Facebook page or my Instagram page. If you'd like to place an order, the easiest thing to do is shoot me an email. And it's Drunkwood, INKY. So it looks like drunkwoodinky@gmail.com. That's the easiest thing to do. I try to push, because I get communications via Instagram, Facebook. I try to push everything in email, so it's all in one place. So yeah, but yeah, I ship all across the United States and Canada and Great Britain and Russia. Yeah, I just did a Russia one. Yeah. So it can be expensive to ship though. So that's the worst part is.
So you're international now. You're an international star with the International Workshop.
Yeah, I guess that's what my buddies call it, Drunkwood International LLC. So I think that's what I'm listed on Google. Like if you Google it, like my house, that's what it's listed as. So,
like I said, check them out, Drunkwood. John, this was a blast, and we'll have to grab a beer sometime.
Yeah, anytime you're in. And I'm typically sometimes in Lexington. My friends own Ethereal and Country Boy, and West Six, so I go there and visit them on occasion when I get into town.
So absolutely, we'll have to make a plan.
Awesome, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hops Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here on the Bar Conversations for our conversation, he's got some new music out, maybe some more coming. We'll find out. Please welcome in Grant Gilbert. Grant, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I've seen some of your videos on Instagram and hearing your family story and kind of all the places that your parents took you when you were younger. I'm curious, what's your go-to drink these days? You got anything good?
I'm going to say I'm a big whiskey and Coke guy, and I like, I don't know, vodka soda when I'm taking it easy.
I like that vodka soda.
Whiskey and Coke is probably the go-to. Yeah.
I like that. I got a little Knob Creek 9-year tonight. Little finally cracked this bad boy open. So that's what I've got tonight. Now, do you go into beer or anything like that, or margaritas on the beach, or what's your anything else?
I mean, I enjoy a margarita with some Mexican food. That's pretty good go-to. And I don't know if it's Coors Light, Natty Light, Miller Light, Keystone Light. Cheap beer is the best beer in my experience. I've enjoyed
coming back to that. Still enjoy a craft beer, but it's nice to go with the classics these days. And I'm wondering, do you take those out with you when you're out on the farm or at the hunting camp, and get to do a little bit of that?
Yeah, if we're sitting around a fire in the evenings or something, or hunting, or just having a good time on the road, there's probably a Coors Light around somewhere. So those pretty good go-tos.
Now, when you're not on stage or in the studio, where's kind of your happy place? Is that, or where will folks find you?
In Texas, it's going to be out here on our family farm. We got a bunch of land and some cows and stuff, and hunting with my brother. And if I'm not in Texas, I'm in Nashville writing songs and just doing that. So I write songs a whole lot. And, spend quite a bit of time in Nashville doing that. So
now,
I enjoy it when I can get out in the country.
I was going to say, do you get out in the country? I mean, there's plenty of country in Tennessee. You can go up north to Kentucky and all sorts of places. Do you ever get to do any of that?
Yeah, I got some buddies that have a place out in Missouri. We like to go down there and go duck hunting and goose hunting, and that's about it. Sometimes we'll go to a little bit in West Tennessee and deer hunt. I've done that a time or two, but other than that, I'm mainly in Nashville writing. Seems like.
You got to do work, unfortunately, right?
I know. Yeah, you gotta work hard so you can play. You know.
That is true. That is true. Now, you said you got the farm down there, so you literally grew up on a big farm in a small town, right?
Yeah, no, we got about 1,000 acres out here, and we just enjoy riding around in the evenings and checking cows, and just being in the middle of nowhere. I enjoy it.
So for you, when you're writing about, like when people say, down a dirt road, you were down a dirt road on the farm, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not much out here, and got to tell people the name of the biggest city you live by, so they have even a remote clue of where you are in the world. So I kind of had to live by that my whole life.
I understand that. I grew up in West Virginia, and there weren't a whole lot of big cities around me, so I would say Pittsburgh, and then they'd be like, "You're not even close," and I'm like, I know, but you're not going to find me on the map."
Well, hopefully you'll have like a Walmart within a couple hours, surely, right?
We do. We released, we had stoplights, a Walmart, a Kroger. We had a little bit of stuff. Now, where my dad grew up, not so much. He was out in the country, and you could walk out the back of his house and not see a soul for about a day, 2 days.
Hey, that's not a bad thing, if you ask me.
Now, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. You go by Grant Gilbert, but technically that is not your given name, correct?
Yeah, well, my given name is Gregory Grant Gilbert, and since day one I've always gone by Grant, but my parents named my brother Bryson Gregory also. We have the same first name. And so we've had to fight that battle our whole life, trying to figure out who's who and who they're talking to, who the mail was going to. I mean, there's no telling.
Because he goes by his middle name, right? He goes by his middle name. So he's Gregory when you would be technically Gregory.
So he's Bryson, and I don't know what the thought process was. His name is both the same name, but two very different people, but with the same name.
I like it. Now, I got to ask your parents, did they really take you when they would go to the big city? Would they take you and your brother go to the club and you'd just be off hanging at a table at the side, while they were having a good time?
Well, I mean, it was like, they always went dancing in Fort Worth, and there's this old place called the White Elephant Saloon, and it was just like classic country music, like Johnny Bush, like Don Edwards singing cattle songs, and they just enjoy two-stepping and dancing, just old school, just two-stepping, nothing crazy, anything crazy, and they just let us hang out at the table, and there's an older couple they said would always just watch us while they were dancing, keep an eye on us, make sure we were behaving. So I mean, I think that's where we got it, and I don't know, that was always the thing, just going to dances and listening to music, and that's how I got started being into it.
I was gonna say, I mean, did that follow you? I mean, are you out honky tonk until 2 a.m?
I mean, I spend my weekends honky tonking, but during the week, I'm sticking pretty close to the house. I'm not getting too crazy with it. I mean, it's pretty hard to get me to leave the house during the week since we're going so much on the weekends.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of been your MO for a good while. I mean, you were doing that in school, right? You'd be going to school, and then on the weekends you'd be playing gigs, and so has that kind of been your schedule for as long as you can remember now?
Yeah, it's been pretty much the only thing I've known. I haven't spent too much time doing many other things. I mean, Playing music's how I've always paid my bills, and there's never a plan B. I always feel like that was what was supposed to happen, and I don't know. I've been lucky to somehow navigate my way through it and still do it.
Well, and I think you're having a good time. You get to travel all over. And was your first gig at a taco shop that your brother booked you?
Yeah, that's a fact. There used to be a fuzzy taco shop in this town beside us, and on Fridays and Saturdays it had it's a taco shop, but on the side there's this little sidebar, and on Fridays and Saturdays they'd have music from 8 to 10, and I knew a few people that had played it, and I didn't have no 2 hours worth of songs or anything, and he called up there, and I don't know what they were thinking to book me, and sure enough they did, and I went up there and made a little gas money, and I said, this is a lot cooler than mowing yards or whatever everybody else is doing, so I'm gonna play these gigs in the taco shop. And then we got the phone book out and called every other place around that we could think of, and we couldn't find another gig for a while, but that was our one and only. But that's where it started.
I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, do you remember it vividly, like to this day, like how it went and everything that had to go on for it to come together?
Yeah, I remember the night before we went to town to Fort Worth, and I didn't have a sound system or anything. I mean, I had nothing, and we bought some speakers and I don't know what else. Take some cables and everything, and somehow pieced this thing together. Bought the soundboard with the knobs on it from a pawn shop earlier that week, and put it together hoping it would work, and it fired up, and we played. A lot of my friends and their parents from my hometown came and threw some money in the tip jar, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Well, like you said, it's a lot better than mowing yards, and it's a good, and it's led you here to this. And you mentioned your family's kind of obviously loved music. So I mean, did you just grow up with music all your life? I mean, did they just have music on at the house? When they weren't out going out dancing. I mean, how was music just all around you?
I mean, just music was always on the radio in the pickups or whatever. If we were feeding cows, it was on the radio. And I just got to where I don't know, I could just hear a song and pretty much know the words to it. Like, I don't know I could just remember words really well. And I just kind of pick them and sing them. And starting out, I'd be like, hey, what do y'all want to hear me play? And I'd sing the words. I'd probably play it wrong, but I try to sing it. I'd get most of the words right. And that's just kind of how it started, just growing up listening to music and just sitting there with my dad quizzing each other. Who sings that? Who wrote that? What album was that on? And then I fell in love with country. And then one day we were at a boat dock one day, just driving around looking at the lake. And you know how people used to have big like CD binders that they put all their sleeves of CDs in?
I might still have that.
I'm sure you can't throw that away. But I guess somebody was pulling their boat out of the water and dropped it on the ground. And we found one laying on the ground. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And I had one of those big iPods with the wheels on it, and I found this case of CDs, and I put them all in there. And then I found like Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, and a bunch of old like country stuff too. But and that's kind of where the bridge crossed into that country and the Tom Petty sounds. That's where I fell in love with all that. And I would have never heard of Tom Petty to that point unless I found that big sleeve of CDs on the ground. So somebody had some good albums that they lost, and they're probably looking for it still, and I got it. So.
Well, sometimes it's just like serendipity. It just was meant to be, and it led you to kind of a cool thing, because you do blend. Like when you're listening to your songs, you can clear as day hear that rock influence. Is that kind of the sound you're going for? A little country, a little rock, and maybe a little blues thrown in there too?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, like I said, I'm big country, and then I'm not like a grunge rock guy or a rocking guy. Just some electric guitars, like back in the 70s and 80s. And, I mean, even in the 90s, electric guitars were a big deal in country music, and I think just kind of using those 80s sounds and feels and maybe some melodies with country lyrics is kind of where I find myself. I'm not a lot of people, when they think rock, they think punk, and I'm the farthest thing from a punk, you know. So I mean, I couldn't sell that, but just country rock. Country rock is kind of where I think we are.
Well, I was gonna say, there's nothing. I mean, Southern rock's been around a long time. A lot of folks pulled off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, the guitars are a heavy influence on a lot of artists these days. And you mentioned, you got kind of had that bug. You could play. Obviously, you got that first gig, and then you kind of did some other things. But when did you know that was something that you wanted to make your career? Because it's one thing to play a gig, have fun. It's another to make that big leap and go into writing and traveling around and doing things like that.
I mean, I was going to college out at Texas Tech, and we were playing around on the weekend or during the weeks, and then we play with the band on the weekends. And I was going to school out there, and I was sitting in class, and I was thinking more about music and guitars, or like trying to think of a place I could call to let us play. And I was having fun doing it, and my dad always said, "Get your degree, and you can do whatever you want." So I scraped by in the classroom, took a couple things twice, and I was playing every weekend, and I was like, man, making a little gas money doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it. And we started pulling some crowds around town and around Lubbock, and I guess a couple people started paying attention to us, and I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. And then some things are falling into place that I don't know, you can't plan, and I've been lucky to be to the point we're at right now. So we're still climbing every day. Every day is a battle. We wake up every day. It's like, what can we do to win today? What can we do to make a difference? I mean, scratching and clawing and being on the road. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, that's the best way to cut your teeth at the end of the day, is getting out there touring and making fans everywhere you go. And you mentioned going to Texas Tech, who I really dislike at the moment. Not because I dislike Texas Tech or Lubbock. I'm just a West Virginia fan, and it's gone horribly wrong against them recently. So
we got y'all last week, didn't we?
It wasn't pretty. I'm glad I didn't get to watch much of the game. But how much did Lubbock and Texas Tech impact you? Because you mentioned getting to play there, but for those that don't know, a lot of big Texas guys came through there, went through there. Josh Abbott, William Clark Green, and many others. So that's a good place to kind of cut your teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's this place out there called the Blue Light Live, and it was that's where it was starting out. I mean, from the second I moved there, I was writing some terrible songs, but I was trying to write songs. And starting out Mondays, I was going to Blue Light Songwriter Night and trying to write songs and play them. And looking back, I'm like, oh, those were bad. I don't know, but starting there playing Mondays, just trying to figure out how to write songs, and sure enough, they let us book on a Tuesday, and then gave us a Wednesday, and then gave us Thursday, and then worked our way up to the weekend, and then it was my 21st birthday, and met Josh Abbott, and he kind of took us under his wing, and all those Lubbock guys. Lubbock's small from the grand scheme of things, and met those guys like William Clark Green and Wade Bowen and Pat Green. Looked up to those guys like crazy, and then Josh really took us under his wing, and helped us really get on the road, and it's opened up a lot of doors for us. And Lubbock kind of paved the way to get there, and so Lubbock is one of my favorite spots in the world every time I go back.
Well, and you mentioned Josh, and when you have someone like him that's done it well. What was it like when he was like, "Hey, I want to work with you," and he ended up being your, manager, along with kind of a collab deal there. But I mean, to take you under the wing, that had to say something to you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he said it, I was like, wow, like what? Okay, like I have nothing to bring to the table here, and it's like, man, I just feel like I can help you out a lot and open some doors, and so he's done that a lot, and now passed us on kind of, and to where we are now. And I don't know, he's helped me out a lot. And he's not managing us or helping manage us anymore, but he's going to be on this next song we're putting out pretty soon. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I was going to say that's a perfect segue, because my next question was going to be, when are you two working together now? Because you wrote for him back then, right? You and him wrote a song that he ended up cutting. But now, is he finally returning that favor? Yeah,
we just cut it the other day. We were in the studio and had to get him singing on it, and it's a good time song. I haven't played it out or showed it any yet, but we're getting it mixed right now, and I figure we'll put it out probably the top of next year. So I'm excited about it. I think people in Texas will love it, but I hope people love it everywhere. We can go out and tour it and play some shows together and sing it. And I think people have a good time with it. So if they like drink a beer, they're gonna like this song. So casting a wide net there.
I like it. I mean, that can go anywhere. It's hard to find some place that doesn't like a beer.
I know. And if you're going to be at a bar at a concert, if you don't like beer, I mean, you probably, I don't know what you're doing.
Now, you mentioned this, obviously, Josh is big down in Texas, and, he's been fortunate enough to kind of go elsewhere too. And on your social media, you can find me anywhere between Texas and Tennessee. How do you also kind of make sure while you're building in Texas, you kind of can go beyond that too? I
mean, it's just working socials and if there's a show opportunity somewhere else, we'll take it. We'll be there, I mean, a 12+ hour drive is nothing to us anymore. I mean, it gets tough and long sometimes, but I mean, just getting out, and if there's an opportunity, taking it, and you can't win anything by sitting on the couch, and just gotta keep your head down and try to win every day. And so that's our goal. Just take every opportunity we can, and hopefully create some of our own. Keep going. Just working hard.
Well, now you've got your latest single out. What's Stopping Us? How did that come together? And was that a true experience or just a song that spoke to you?
I mean, I write a lot with Eric Dillon. He's one of my buddies. We've been writing together since day one. Before I learned to write songs with that guy. I mean, he was my first write in Nashville ever. And Jordan Walker, he's from Texas, and we just sat down that day just trying to write something that felt good. And I think Jordan was playing that little guitar lick, and we just started writing, and What's Stopping Us came out. It's kind of about just seeing where something new takes you and hanging on for the ride. I mean, I feel like it's somebody people could relate to, and kind of everybody's been there at one point or another.
Well, I feel like too, it's kind of unique too, in the sense of, like you said, it's a good feeling song, and not one of why not give it a chance. And I feel like that's kind of cool too, to kind of tell that story of seeing someone you might be interested in, vice versa, and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, everybody's needed somebody at some point to kind of pick them up, and so it's kind of just somebody kind of coming into your life and picking you up, and knocking, just dusting you off and seeing where it takes you,
Now, do you have anyone like that in your life? Anyone you want to see what's stopping you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely had people walk into my life when I needed them or needed a friend, and I felt like this song's about that, I mean, I'm glad. I mean, I know my girlfriend keeps me in line, so I can say it's about her, I guess.
There you go. See, that's all you had to say, just right off the bat. I wrote it about her.
I wrote it about the time I saw her walking into the Mexican restaurant and had to go talk to her.
See, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, listening to a lot of your songs, I'm drawing a blank now because I didn't write it down, but the one that kind of took off for you, kind of just before that, I know you had Gotten Everything. She Goes, yeah, the Dirty Breakup song. How did that kind of change things for you?
I mean, it's opened a lot of doors. I mean, kind of put it on social media and kind of took off on us for a second, and it took us forever to get in the studio and record it. I mean, I guess we were talking to our current our producer, Jonathan Singleton, and playing him these songs. And I guess we booked our studio time a little ways out, and we didn't put it out until like over almost 8 months probably after I even put the song out and did something on social media. And I don't know, we did a music video for it. That was my first music video, and so it's fun getting to try and be a little dramatic, I mean, in front of a camera. That doesn't exactly come natural to a knucklehead from nowhere, So we had to work on that.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, obviously with social media nowadays, things are a little different. Like you said, you can kind of go beyond wherever. I mean, it's worldwide. I mean, people can find things. Is it weird to kind of put a song out there and you might like it, you might see where it goes, and then it blows up, and then you're like, uh-oh, now what do we do with it? What do we do with it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like a random, like, hey, I wrote this song. Hope y'all like it, and then it kind of, I was checking my phone, and I was like, okay, it's still good, and I was like, okay, we better record this one, and I turned the song in, or I wrote the song with Rivers Rutherford and Joy Beth Taylor, and we did like a little demo of it that day, and I never got the demo. I never turned it in, and they're like, hey, you didn't tell us about this song. Like, this song's good. And I was like, okay, whatever, cool. Maybe somebody else will cut it. I don't know. I haven't listened to it. And then so we had this guy who was helping us record some little videos or whatever, and on his phone, just videoing it. He's like, hey, play that song. I like that one. I was like, well, I don't even know how it goes. Let me just, so I listened to it, tried to play it. And that's kind of what came out. And sure enough, people liked it. I was like, well, if they like it, it must be okay. It's just it was just a song to me. And so it's been the best one for us up to this point so far. So it's pretty organic.
Well, and sometimes that's just how it works. And what's stopping us is another great one, God and Everything. And you've been able to put out some new music lately. So obviously in the studio a little bit, working on some things.
Yeah, we just cut some new ones a couple weeks ago, and we're finishing them up right now. And I'm gonna have some friends sing on them too. So we'll see what happens. 2023 should be a good one. So hopefully we'll be playing a lot of shows and rolling out a bunch of new songs. So this 2022 has been a good building year, but we just gotta keep building on what we're doing.
I was gonna say, what's that process like to kind of? Obviously, you got to keep putting out music, but you got to find the right rhythm, and then at some point, I know you're probably itching to put out some of these other songs that you've been able to put together. I mean, how do you pace yourself and then kind of build toward that next step?
I would say being patient has been if there's one thing the music business has ever taught me, is to be patient. And I'm not a patient person, I'm like, I don't even order stuff online because I'd rather go to the store because I'm an instant gratification kind of guy, and I don't know, it's just having to be patient and let the chips fall where they will. And I mean, if it was up to me, I would have put all these songs we recorded out the other day, let everybody have them, but just trying to share them and put them out the right way, and so hopefully they can reach as many ears as possible. So that's our goal, and just being patient, trusting the process, and showing up, working hard every day, seeing where it takes us.
Well, like I said, so far so good. And you mentioned you get in writers' rooms, you kind of come up with some ideas. Is that typically what you're doing? You just bring an idea to the table, or are you pulling in some real life experiences and just seeing where that takes you?
Either one. Like, I mean, I got a note section in my phone, and if I'm sitting at the house or mowing the field on the tractor, I mean, that's where some ideas come. Just write it down that day, or if somebody says something, I'll write it down real quick, and just take them in every day, tinker on the guitar, and that's just the process, and whatever we're feeling that day. I mean, it might be the dumbest thing in the world, somebody said something funny, we're like, wow, let's write that, I mean, it's just an organic process, and writing with my friends, and I mean, it's how it feels real, I think.
Well, that connects with folks, and they can relate, and then that brings them into the music. And you mentioned it a little bit. You've got Josh on a song coming out most likely next year. Folks are going to have to wait a little bit on that. Any other friends that you can mention, or at least give us a clue about, that you're going to have some fun surprises for? I won't get you in trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble.
It's just people that probably from the Texas area, or some buddies up from Nashville. So it's not anybody random. We've crossed paths with them pretty often, so it'll mesh with people, I like it.
I like it.
They can take their guesses, I guess. I don't want to get in trouble because we haven't done it yet, but we're supposed to do it in like 2 weeks. So who knows?
I was gonna say I don't want to get you in trouble. So
yeah,
now,
Josh one is done. Josh one is done.
So that one everyone knows about, and it's gonna happen. And then the others, it's a good tease. You just have to wait and see. Maybe he'll drop something on social media. Maybe he won't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably tease something on my Instagram here in the next couple of weeks with some others.
Now, as you close out 2022, you mentioned it's been a building year. What can folks expect from you kind of the rest of the year? And then obviously in 2023, you got new music and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But rest of this year, and then what are you hoping for in 2023?
I mean, the rest of this year is just kind of getting the blocks in place for all these new songs in 2023 and just getting all, hopefully in the next month or two, getting some tour dates booked for early 2023 and just building and trying to gain some steam and hopefully come to every venue in every town that'll have us. And hopefully everybody that's ever listened to our songs will come see us. So just getting the music out there as much as we can. And it's a challenge every day and just trying to stay busy.
Well, I was going to say, you've been doing that for a while. You've been pretty much hitting the road every weekend, getting to just show off that music. GrantGilbertMusic.com. You can also find him on social media at Grant Gilbert Music. And I got to ask this because you've grown from just you and being an acoustic set, clearly. And how has that process been like? Because you got a good buddy, I believe, that's been with you for a while, and now I think you're up to like a 5-piece group.
Yeah, we have a 5-piece band, and I mean, our guitar player Morgan, we've been at it since we were in high school playing acoustic shows together, and then he wound up going to school out at Texas Tech, which is kind of 4 hours from where we're from, and we just picked up where we left off, and we met our buddy. Messaged this guy on Facebook. I was like, hey, we need a drummer, and he shows up to rehearsal, and I was like, this guy's really good. He's out of my league, but hey, come on, come play. And so he still plays with us, and then and so the three of us, we've been together for a long time, and then we have 2 guys that have been with us last year, and it's just fun being on the road every weekend, and it's a mystery every weekend. When the van and trailer pulls out, you don't know what you're getting into that weekend. So it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I get to do it. And but every Sunday morning when we pull back up, I'm worn out and glad it's over with for a couple of days. We needed a break. We needed to cool off.
But you get to spend time with friends and folks that you enjoy, and that's got to be cool. And then who knows, you might just end up at a Buc-ee's at 3 a.m. and see something interesting.
Hey, that's every weekend, Buc-ee's at 3 a.m. Yeah, we get some kolaches and a coffee and getting down the road.
And you know what? We got one in Kentucky now, so they're everywhere.
I didn't know that. They're everywhere in Texas.
Yep.
I know that.
It's wild. They came to Kentucky after I finally got to see one in Texas visiting family, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, we got one in Kentucky. And
it's not so special anymore, huh?
Oh,
yeah,
no, they're still
every
special.
time you walk in, it's crazy. That's still special. Walmart gas
I've
station.
never been to something quite like a Buc-ee's.
No, they're a one-of-a-kind thing, that's for sure.
Well, Grant, I appreciate you taking the time to talk a little bit, tease us on some new music that's coming, and folks, if you haven't yet, check it out. Like I said, I've really enjoyed all of your music, especially What's Stopping Us, and just excited to see where you go.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we can do this again in a couple months, and we'll make some moves.
I like it. I'll hold you to that, and maybe next time we'll share another drink.
That's right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.